Okay, so the question is on the screen. Would you take it from there?
Yes, that's fine. Um,
Okay.
okay, so I'm not going to read the question out because I think everybody can read. But I'm trying to split these questions up under the unique child, positive relationships, engagement, learning and development, prime areas, specific areas, and then the character effective learning, if that comes into them, because that will just highlight what we were talking about on Friday. So the first thing I need to say about this question is no, we shouldn't be engaging in letter formation because there's lots of skills that come before actually writing. Okay. And we need to follow the child's interests. So in this scenario, she's really interested in mark making. She enjoys her pencil, well, her crayons. They were wax crayons. They were thin wax crayons that she had. And if we do push children into doing things too early, then we're taking the joy out of their learning. Okay, and we perhaps are asking them to do something that they can't succeed at, or they just don't enjoy it. So let's just think about us for a minute. I mean, who here wants to be doing stuff just to please an adult? Okay, I mean, we want to do stuff to please ourselves, don't we? As adults, we want to do things that we enjoy and that please ourselves. And if we push children into doing things, then we're actually asking them to do things to please us rather than please themselves. Okay, and that's really quite important. It's also really important we communicate to parents about the stages of their child's development. Okay, and letting them know that pushing a child too early will actually harm their brains. Okay, because what actually happens is they build up a bad habit because they can't necessarily physically do it, but they will do it in the best way they possibly can. So they might form their letters incorrectly or back to front. Okay, that's a pathway that is built in the brain. To join letters up, they will need to undo that pathway and set up a brand new one. Pathways they can't be changed. They have to die and a new one has to be put in its place. So to get rid of the bad habits, that's really hard for them. And if we think about our bad habits as adults, bad habits are really difficult to get rid of, aren't they? So let's just talk about the environment. Now this parent is actually a practitioner. And she arranged the environment for her child, even though she wasn't in nursery. She had brought things for her child to do because she and I were going to have a chat. She had a tin with crayons. She had dinosaur stickers and ink stamps and a clipboard with plain paper attached, all in a carrier bag for her child to access. So we met in a coffee shop. So she had an adult chair to climb onto and the table, that we were having our coffee off of. Now, at her stage of development, it was about her controlling a thinner wax crayon, not a chunky one. Okay, drawing lines from top to bottom, which is something that we need in our writing, and from left to right, and I'm doing opposite so it comes on right on the camera. Left to right orientation across the page, which is how our writing goes. Okay, now she could do those actually. She was practicing taking the crayons out of her tin and replacing them, and we also encouraged her to do a circle. I can't do this back to front. There we go. Because our letters start like this. Most of our letters start like that. We call it 1 o'clock on Spark. Okay, now she couldn't do that. She could do a circle, but she did it from the bottom and the opposite way around how she should do it. But I encouraged her to try and do a circle around one of her dinosaur stickers. Now, if we look at the prime areas of learning in that scenario, there's lots of fine motor activity, controlling the marker, manoeuvring her clipboard in and out of the bag, which is on the floor, and also holding it and getting onto her chair at the same time, which she found quite difficult. She actually preferred to stand at the table rather than sit on the chair. And we perhaps should have allowed her to do that. Now, the specific areas of learning, it was literacy. And her particular interest was in this at the moment. And her mother supported that interest to write. She wasn't really writing, obviously, but she called it writing. And she probably had seen her mother write and her brother, her older brother, write and her father write. And she wanted to copy. It's called mirroring what she sees. Now, from the character's effective learning scenario, she was investigating the resources. So that's playing and exploring. I'm just breaking some of these things down. She was concentrating and she was persevering. She was very attentive to what she was doing, but because of her age, her stage, they were really short bursts, which is why the clipboard kept being put away, and then she would get something else out and she'd play for that for a little while, and then she'd go back to her clipboard. Okay. And creating and thinking critically, she was drawing what she wanted to do, and she chose the colours and the resources from the tin. And she quickly worked out that dropping items on the floor meant she had to go and pick them up. So that helped her keep everything on the table. So actually, from that activity, which was just really a mother giving her child some things to do while two grown-ups could have a meeting, was actually really beneficial to her learning. But it would not have been appropriate if she had been asked to write letters or numbers at her stage of development. I think with the EYFS, although there are certain expectations for each age and stage, from a practitioner point of view, when carrying out our everyday practice, our attention should really be on the child's stage of development,